I think let's start the second session. Um, am I audible at the last? I'm Johnny. I'm from Chennai. So today we'll be seeing some about the atomic design pattern, right? So this is primarily a kind of design pattern which we are trying to use. So let's just dive into the agenda of it. So So this is what we'll be covering today. So initial thing is going to be a short description of what pages are, and next thing is going to be what a design system as such is, and then what this atomic design primarily relies on, and then the basics of this atomic design and how this has been implemented, and a kind of style guide that's which we have created. Um, so primarily going to pages. So we all know, like once upon a time, we used to design pages, right? So the designers used to give the developers a set of mocks, and we try to develop these mocks with a code. So, so this era we used to call as the PhD era, right? So the problem over here is we used to check the pixel perfect kind of designs, right? So they used to verify each and every kind of component in a web page. So whether it's mocking exactly with the mocks which they have prepared. Um, yeah, so it's easier. It was easier to develop earlier because we used to create a lot of web pages and then keep on going ahead. But the problem over there is we used to find a lot of components that are getting reused over and over in a lot of pages. So because of that, what happens is that it becomes a problem for the testers, right? I mean, even though it's the same component that we are using again and again, we happen to go and check all these kind of measurements, say the rounded corners or the kind of colors which goes into it. So these are the kind of difficulties which we faced, right? Um, so let's go, a bit back over why this pages even existed. So the reason being, pages actually came from the books which we used to. So initially there were books, and then there were manuscripts, right? So the metaphor page itself came from the books, right? So we adopted that kind of metaphor in the WWW. So that was the primary reason. So we stick with a phrase called pages, and we went ahead. So initially it used to be like that. So whatever advertisements happened on, so we used to distribute pamphlets or something like that, and then that gets translated directly into the website. So this is how the flow was when actually advertisements started moving into the pages. So the phrase page itself is pretty much buried deep into our minds. So that is where shift actually happened. So the initial assumption which we had with the pages was we thought that it would be uniform, it would be isolated and quantifiable. The components which existed there, we thought it would be having all these qualities. But the thing is, in reality, if you see, all these components were kind of fluid, they were all interactive and then interdependent with each other. So say if someone asks you like how much time would it take to build this kind of page, it not only so if it's going to be just a normal page, say with a background or with a title, it's going to be pretty straightforward. But if say it involves say a carousel or various other components, it's going to take a lot of time. So the term page itself isn't so confident here. So post PhD era is when we came up with the new kind of pattern. So this concept of modularity started creeping in everywhere through the website design. So modularity came over here in the design system as well. So this is a famous quote said by Stephen Hay. So it says that we are not designing pages. The thing is, we are designing design system of components. So let's go on much more deeply into what design systems are. So we know a lot of design systems existed, say for color, or for typography, grids, textures, forms, etc. So the thing is, these are all pretty much subjective, right? Say even Google has the responsive design. So all these are kind of subjective. It exists now, but the thing is, going forward, it it would actually fade out. So we need something very concrete in place for the design system to exist. So that is where we had this analogy. So we all have this bio-inspired kind of engineering, right? So this is something like that. So it came from the chemistry. So pretty much it brings back the memories of our, school days. Um, it's pretty much straightforward. It says that two hydrogen molecules combined with oxygen gives you water, two molecules of water, right? So there are these bonds that are happening in between the atoms molecules. So we'll pretty much bring in the same analogy over here. Um, so yeah, we all know that atoms is actually the basic building blocks of all the matter. So it can't be broken down. So it's a basic science which we know. And there are molecules which can be constructed from, a combination of atoms. And there are organisms which exist, which actually consists of a collection of molecules and atoms. And we all are pretty familiar with the periodic table. Um, so something like this exists in the web world as well. So this is Mike Richmuller's periodic table of elements. So if you can see, there is the primary elements and the elements associated with the images and all. Um, Having this in place, so this was the concept introduced by Brad Frost. So this was a theory that existed during the time. So it is purely atomic design. So having the atomic components as basic elements, how can we create a web page? So that was the aim. So what atomic design says that it's composed of 5 distinct stages that work together in order to form a deliberate and that work together in a hierarchical manner to form a interface. So that's what the atomic design by itself says. So here again we have these 5 different layers. So one would be the atoms, and then the molecules, the organisms again. And then after this is pretty much interesting. So one is going to be the template, and another one is the page, which we actually see. So the atoms, as we all know, it's going to be the primary element which can't be broken down. Okay. So if you see here, a label can be considered as an atom because so label by itself is it consists of a text and then some color to it. And then the input as well. So one more example would be a smaller button. So it depends upon case to case. So over here we have considered these 3 as the atoms, and a molecule is a combination of more atoms. Again. So an organism here would be a combination of the atoms and the molecules again. So if you can see, there is this logo over there to the left, and then some navigation components. And then there is this molecule which we saw earlier, which is there to the right. So this is a template kind of thing that exists for all the web pages that can go forward. So this would be a complete template. So an entire web page without the proper content would be a template. So you can actually fill in multiple content over here in order to fill in this template. And then going forward, when you fill in data over to it, so this would be called the page. So this is the primary concept of how this atomic design by itself is. If you can see, this is an example of Instagram, right? So this is Instagram post. You can see it being broken down into the atoms, and then combination of molecules again, and then the organisms. And then there's templates without the proper content, and then there is this pages with the content again. So having this as a concept, what we try to do in the thoughtworks.com website, right? So I think pretty much many of you would have seen the thoughtworks.com website. So we have a team over there. So we are developing this this site as such. So let me actually pull that up for you. Yeah. So this is the primary site of the thoughtworks.com. If you see, there is a list of components available. So one is going to be the grid card, and then there is this video section again, and then there are some insights articles, and then some news over here. And moving to the products page again. So you have here a banner kind of, and then some text to it, and then some kind of image blocks, and then so on and so forth. So there are other client sections as well. So this was the primary motive. So we were able to see a kind of pattern that kept on repeating. Say the text block or the kind of image that kept repeating again and again. So what we thought of doing was we tried to bring this the atomic design pattern in place, and then we kind of migrate all our code into the atomic design pattern. So that was what we tried to do. So this is one of the atom that is available in the code. Let me bring that. So it's the H2 tag. So you can see. So this site was primarily built using Ruby, and the HTMLs were rendered using Slim. Right. So these are the arrangement of the components. So we have a list of atoms available here. You can see here. So one is the heading section. So for each and every atom, it would be a combination of three files. So one would be the Slim file. So it says header and then some class to it, and the actual text that gets rendered over there. And then some styling for that, right? It goes along with that. And some sample data. So sample, what exactly is the sample data? We will get back to that again. So this is, the structure of atoms, and over here we can see a list of molecules. Here again, as we said, like the molecule is a composition of atoms again. So, so you can see a combination of atoms being rendered here. So it's an image with text, right? And you have two different components over here, the image and a paragraph tag. And then going forward, you have some components, right? So one would be the image block. So here it renders some molecules and some atoms. So this is the kind of structure which we are looking at. But the common structure would be so a Slim file, and then some styling to it, and a sample data. So why did we exactly need that sample data was we need to maintain a repo of what all atoms are already available. So that is the primary motive. When you start building again and again, you might miss out what exactly are the atoms that are being that have been designed already. Otherwise, you might end up recreating again and again the same kind of atoms. So in order to maintain that, we need to create say a style guide kind of thing in place. So we actually have something called a lifestyle guide. So it actually describes like how like what all atoms exactly are available in your site. So this is the entire catalog of it. Here we have all the atoms listed, and once you go to that atom, right, so it gives you how you can actually use it and what exactly is the code that is being written over that. So say a developer comes in newly, he wants to create a new component in place. He can go and refer to this style guide. Yeah, so if it is already available, an atom, if it is already available, he can just plug in that. Otherwise, he can create a new atom and then proceed. So this would be the common workflow. And then going forward, so there is this molecules again. Say for this kind of structure, this is what you would use, say a keynote and the parameters to it. So this is the way which you actually represent over there. And then there are some organisms over there as well. So these are some complex structures available. say take a heading section, then this is how you would actually render it. So yeah, things like that. So having built such a kind of structure in place, right? This thing has helped us a lot. So we haven't entirely moved our site with this kind of design, but the thing is, we are slowly migrating. But we find it a lot helpful even now because I mean we are able to experience the benefits of it. Um, Okay, so one thing would be reusability. As you all know, like you can actually reuse the same component without actually modifying the design of it. Right? So the design would be consistent through. And second one would be easier to create the style guide. The style guide application as such, it actually pulls out your molecule. You don't have to create anything over there. So it actually runs through your atom or the molecule directory, and then it renders that particular component over there in the style guide for you. So that's how it's designed. And then understanding the layout is pretty straightforward. You just have to, browse through the style guide as such. And code is more consistent, and you don't have to go and compare the pixel to pixel kind of check for all the kind of pages. So that is one of the benefit. And then yeah, so you can easily update and remove parts of the site. And yeah, it's more modular. Then less components is required in overall manner. So yeah, these are the benefits which we found actually while we try to use this kind of pattern. And yeah, here are some resources which you can refer. So there is an article called Atomic Web Design by Brad Frost, and then there is Pattern Lab. So this is a free style guide which you can refer to. So having said this, yeah, thank you. Any questions?
Yes. How do you compare this with web components? Google has brought out all the W3C standards, right? Version 1 of web components. You have libraries like Polymer. So why not use that? And what is the main difference?
So when you try to use the web components, right? It is pretty subjective, right? So even in the responsive design, right now motion is considered, and then the depth is considered. So going forward, it will keep on varying, but the only thing that remains constant is going to be the components which actually are available over there, right? The kind of components which are there, and where exactly that components would be lying in all the devices, not just the desktop, but in all the devices where exactly it's going to be placed. So this, I think, is the primary focus behind this kind of design, the atomic design pattern message.
Not sure. Don't you think this is same as web components? I'm not sure. Like, what are you actually trying to convey?
No, what I meant was, say if you take the responsive design, right? Over there, so you kind of have this depth component and all, right, involved over there. Depth, the motion, and the kind of color which you try to give over there, right? So these are three different things. So where exactly would you actually use those kind of parameters, right? It differs. So right now these three are the parameters, but in the long run those can fade away and something new might come up. So these parameters will.
I guess you're talking about material design part of web components. But
Yeah.
What about just web components, removing Polymer away?
The polymer is different actually.
Polymer is different, it's just a library above web components. But why not just do it?
Bringing the frameworks, you mean?
Yeah, Polymer is just a framework, forget it.
Okay.
But why not just use web components without Polymer? That means you don't have any material design involved. You put your own design, and you don't have any separate files, CSS files, separate HTML files, and everything. You just put in templates. So why?
So this again isn't, strict kind of structure which you have. So this is left to the implementation, like however you can implement, right? So this is the kind of implementation which we have right now with us. So I'm not saying this should be.
I understood. I just wanted to know the difference between.
So can you use atomic design with web components?
Yeah, you can do that.
So it's more of a concept
Yes.
rather than being an implementation.
Yeah.
So how can we use that? How the browser is understanding that? I mean, I can convert as CSS, normal CSS.
Yeah, when it tries to render, right? I mean, whatever CSS which you write will be rendered as a normal CSS.
Okay.
And say, I mean, the structure would be remaining as such. Like when you write a plain HTML code, how it is going to be? It would remain the same.
So in Polymer, we can write our own component. In that CSS, how the atomic is going to fit the that's my question.
In Polymer, exactly. Okay. So these kind of frameworks, what I think is that, I mean,
Not forget about the Polymer.
Okay.
Let's say I'm trying to use in AngularJS. How can we use this framework in AngularJS? Now AngularJS to use it's all component based.
Mhm.
It's also based on the component base. Why can't we go for AngularJS to component because of this?
okay, the kind of customizations which you can build over there. So I think,
Even AngularJS components also like that is also customizable.
yeah, but pretty much you have lots of code over there, right? I mean, so you have some extra code that are available as them, which remains unused. But here it pretty much lies to the core of it. I mean that you can write your basic code,
Okay.
right?
So how will you do layout in this? Is it like, can I swap out my CSS layout, my normal layout for Flexbox layout, or is it part of the design, or?
Yeah. So here, the layouting which we have used is
What I
called.
understood, sorry, what I understood from you is this is more of a concept, conceptual. You have implemented in Ruby,
Mhm.
right, using element, the other things that you said. If I were to implement in some other technology, how would I do it? If I want to say use Flexbox, how would I do it? If I wanted to say have a software theme, today my website looks green and blue, tomorrow my website looks orange and yellow. Is that actually part of atomic design, or am I talking something that is not part of atomic?
No, so the color and those kind of components doesn't fit in here. So it is mostly the structure like how you have in place. The colors and the kind of grids which you can use, you can easily swap it.
So when we talk about HTML, we normally talk about the element,
Mhm.
its layout,
Yeah.
and its style.
Yeah.
Leave apart its behavior, which is more JavaScript. Looking at normal HTML element on the page, which does not do anything, just the information page. The element itself, the layout, which is the position of the element, and the styling of the element. So atomic design, what does it cover? You mentioned there are 3 or 4 files. So what I understood that is this is a sort of a design philosophy which you should follow and you can implement with varying style, layout.
Yeah, with any kind of layout or any kind of style or any kind of typography. Doesn't matter. These things are easily swappable. So that I mean, the primary components here is going to be like how you actually tie up all these three things, and then the kind of style guide which you have, and then.
So it is left to me to conceptualize what is, how I form my molecules and
Exactly,
design the
yeah.
technology which I use to template my HTML.
Yes.
Say if I'm using some Python or C# or something like that.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Does this, you have these molecules, right? Which molecules are made of atoms. So does it mean that these atoms depend on each other? Can they exist without, like let's say, you have a molecule which is dependent on two atoms. So uh, can you split the molecule into two atoms? Can one atom exist alone? Just removing the other.
So you're saying that's a molecule that is dependent on two atoms, and then we remove one atom. So can the molecule exist? Straightforward, right? Probably. I mean, it can't exist. So how would you actually
And
move?
can the atom exist?
You have to remove that atom, right?
No, the other atom.
Yeah, other atom it can exist. Yeah. So each and every atoms are independent of each other.
It's like components.
Yeah. On different screens, like yeah. Yeah, the layout actually has the control of it, like how you kind of use the layout, right? I mean, the usage of media queries for that matter, right? You'll be able to control all the components available over there.
Is there any specific structure structure in an atomic already that's framework we're using, right?
No, the atomic design actually doesn't provide you with any kind of structure. So, as I said, it's just a design kind of phase. Like how you are actually able to implement it, it's actually up to the people who. Yeah, yeah, you're right. So we'll be having different marks for all the three groups. Um,
So you only responsible.
you can make it responsible, right? Yeah.
Like we collaborate the machine and file.
Mhm.
So it can be responsible like boost and how they are doing.
Yeah, again, those kind of things are actually frameworks. Uh,
So what about the compatibility?
so,
Browser compatibility.
browser compatibility. Yeah. So it's at the end of the day, it's just plain HTML that's getting rendered over. So I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Like how you write in your plain HTML. So it's the same thing. So it is compatible. You have-
My question is like this dot slim, right? That is Ruby and Rails entering an HTML element. The dot
The
slim
slim.
you showed in the
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
That is Ruby and Rails.
Yes. So how the Ruby actually the the short version. Yeah. Okay, thank you.